Hi all, this is Simona Rich, and in this video I will talk about what I have found out about yoga. It's interesting to see that these few years many people have woken up from the new age deception, myself included. It seems that some sort of deconditioning process is taking place and many souls are being saved. Many people have gone through similar experiences with yoga to my own. When they got deep into yoga or meditation, they realized that they were opening up not to the spiritual dimension but to the demonic one, and they finally became aware that they are in the midst of a very real and serious spiritual warfare where the eternal destiny of their souls was being decided. Do you know that yoga was practiced by Aleister Crowley, the Satanist who wrote about human sacrifice and called himself the Beast? He even wrote a book on yoga. I don't doubt that he indeed was the Beast, because through yoga and other Eastern mystical practices, it's possible to get possessed by demonic entities whose ruler is Lucifer. Do you know that Adolf Hitler practiced yoga and thought himself to be an incarnation of Hindu god Vishnu? Maybe he truly was, though not an incarnation, but a vessel for this demon. Germany was fascinated with Hinduism at the time of Adolf Hitler's rule, and look what happened. India has been worshipping the same gods from the very beginning. And look what state this country is in. You worship the very same gods when you do yoga, whether you think you do only physical exercise or not. You cannot extract yoga from Hinduism because the very basis of yoga is Hinduism. Do you know that the purpose of yoga is to have you opened up to demonic influences? So there is nothing good about the opening of your chakras. Do you know that yoga was given to humanity by Hindu god Shiva, who was known as the Lord of the Beasts? He is shown in ancient Pashupati seals of Harappa as a three-horned beast-faced man, meditating with an erect male organ and surrounded by wild animals. Hindus claim that the worship of Shiva's male organ in almost every temple is not at all what it seems to be. Knowing the very origins of Shiva, which is in god Rudra, I beg to differ. Some Hindu devotees, by the way, also claim that the human sacrifice explained in detail in their ancient texts was symbolic too. Having read those texts, I find no suggestions of these sacrifices being symbolic. They are explained in the same way that the animal sacrifices were, which priests do not deny. Since the nature of the serpent created Hinduism is to always adapt, this half-beast creature too has been subtly evolving, morphing from the three-horned beast-faced man who was a dweller in the wilderness into a good-looking blue hero yogi god who, instead of being horned, now holds a three-speared weapon. How cleverly the changes were made without losing any important details, by simply making those details into symbols, representing them. Very clever indeed. I just recently found out that the beast-faced demon depicted in the Pashupati seals of Harappa civilization is the same as the biblical demon Moloch. Look at the headdress. Look at the way they appear. They are almost identical. Of course, they are depicted by different cultures, but the similarities are indisputable. And then look at the modern way of depicting Satan, and you will see that the similarities again are obvious. And then the three-horn headdress that's depicted in the past becomes a trident of Shiva in later times. And also by comparing these three images, it makes sense why those demons have three horns and not two. And that's because the middle horn is actually a chimney to release the smoke that comes from the belly of an idol where children were burned because they were sacrificed to those demons. I don't doubt that he's a powerful demon, having been worshipped by Indians and Muslims without any interruptions throughout thousands of years. And even if he is not the main demon, even if he is not Lucifer, well, and the worship of any demon at the end is the same as worshipping Lucifer, because all the demons, all the fallen angels are under the control of Lucifer. Please research the origins of yoga. They are dark origins, the origins of the occult and black magic, the same origins from which human sacrifice sprang forth, the same origins denying the presence of evil, yet showing it at the same time through religious rituals of human sacrifice, and the tradition of agoris, the real hatha yogis who have sex with dead bodies, are often stoned because of smoking marijuana, and eat feces and dead human flesh even to this day. Such a lifestyle is considered spiritual because Hindus believe that all roads lead to God, because it's easy to believe in such a philosophy. Many Westerners now believe it too, having been influenced heavily by Eastern religious philosophies whose entry to the West was made possible by the Beatles' fascination of the Hindu doctrine. Satan obviously doesn't disclose his plans to humanity because he wants to fool and entrap as many souls as possible. Actually, he wants to send all human souls to eternal damnation, to hell. Of course, nobody would get into yoga and other Eastern spiritual practices if they knew them to be created by Satan. Satan is not a fool. He's extremely crafty and smart beyond belief, so he obviously wouldn't disclose his plan. Instead, he clothed his perverted doctrines that assure eternal damnation with the robes of secrecy, exotic mysticism, energetic experiences, as well as complex philosophies, assuring that every person in the world would find some doctrine that suits his or her taste, be it celibacy and non-attachment, reaching God through sex, which is Tantra, achieving nirvana through chanting, or even achieving enlightenment by being evil, and so forth. Think of your own spiritual way, and it's probably covered in Hindu doctrines somewhere. After all, Satan really wants you to believe that whatever path you choose, you will eventually end up at the same address, God's kingdom. I urge you to stop the demonic practice of yoga. Through every asana, you worship a particular demon of Hindu pantheon. How I wish people would wake up to see the deception. Just because yoga is dressed in westernized robes to appeal to the Western taste doesn't make it holy. Of course, Westerners wouldn't accept the real face of yoga, which is demon worship and spirit possession, standing naked in a hatha yoga posture and being smeared with the ashes of a burned human body. So it adapted to the Western taste. The same is being done by current Indian gurus, changing their rituals and speeches to appeal to the different taste of more affluent Western devotees in order to recruit as many as possible. Many lost souls gladly join such cults thinking that they finally found some sort of loving family, when in fact they are on their way to hell. Please wake up. Have nothing to do with this practice, no matter how greatly you are invested into it, no matter how much it's promoted by the media. Whatever you see heavily promoted in the media is for your fall, not for your benefit. Look at the amount of yoga books available today, and knowing about the evil elite behind the mass media, make your own conclusions. Do you really think that they would excessively promote anything good? If you do, then you're really fast asleep, and I feel sad for you. The destiny of your soul matters more than any worldly investment. Please save your soul. Quit yoga and any other mystical practice. There's nothing mystical about God. You don't need mystical ways to get to Him. Simply lift up your eyes to the sky and pray, and He will hear you, because He hears everything, even your thoughts. You really don't need to follow a complicated doctrine to make God know that you are trying to reach Him. He knows that when you lead a moral life, and when you pray, and when your heart is pure. Give your life to Jesus Christ, who is the Son of God, who died so that you could live, so that your salvation is assured.